Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
And we welcome you to it, this Monday edition of the show. With so much to do over the next 60 minutes, all across the U.S. and Canada. Hello to our friends north of the border. We appreciate you being here. Busy weekend to dig into, and frankly, we'd probably need about 2 hours to do it justice. We only got an hour, so we will dig into all of it. Sammy Arnell will be here a little later on, talk about some of the stuff from Major League Baseball. Wimbledon, Serena's match on Tuesday against Maya Joint, the source of so much conversation. She doesn't even know what to expect. We'll get into that. Brian Twining will be here from Bleacher Nation to talk about NASCAR, recap this weekend's race with a win for Shane Van Gisbergen, but really a lot of good for a lot of drivers who needed it. We'll get into that. Some Robin Lundberg coming up from Sports Illustrated, does a great job on women's basketball, also SiriusXM Radio. Get into it with him on a couple of things as well. But we start things out as we always do on this Monday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story is presented by The Daily Wrap, our Substack newsletter, available Monday through Friday. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page Substack newsletter is called The Daily Wrap. It's got the top story of the day. Whatever we're talking about in this segment, it's available in newsletter form. Be a lot smarter when you get to talk to your friends about the top stories of the day. Check out The Daily Wrap over on Substack. Just scan that QR code right there. You got your phone in your hand? Boom. Just scan the QR code right there, and you'll have all the biggest points from the biggest story of the day right there. All right, Draymond Green out with the Golden State Warriors. By his choice, he turns down a $28 million player option for 2026-2027. Color me surprised, because I'm curious where the hell he thinks he's getting that money come next season and beyond. Then again, maybe he's going to kind of suss this out and wait it out. I'm not saying I have any inside information. I'm not saying Draymond's about to retire. But you see a lot of them in the media, the podcast. You see a lot of them in media on the ESPN NBA tip-off shows with the guys from inside the NBA. He does have a fit that seems very natural for him to move into broadcasting if he wants to do so. Is Draymond signaling maybe he's going to retire? Does he want to keep playing? No matter what he says, this move is kind of making that an option, because he doesn't have to take whatever deal gets offered to him by any other NBA team. And if he just doesn't feel like playing anymore, he doesn't have to play anymore. He's made $1 zillion. He's got rings. He's got the accolades as a former Defensive Player of the Year. It wouldn't shock me if we didn't see him again. It also would not shock me if we did see him again next season. That's big story number one. Part of that big story is the news that Anthony Davis and LeBron James could reunite in Golden State for the Warriors. Shams Charania reporting that the Warriors have an interest in pairing up LeBron with Anthony Davis and Stephen Curry. I don't know what that would mean for Jimmy Butler, because I don't know how they'd fit them all under the cap. If Butler would be moved in a deal that would bring Anthony Davis to the Warriors. Either way, this is juicy stuff. I told you this offseason was going to be crazy, and we kind of saw it leading into the draft with Julius Randle, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the different guys moving around, LaMelo Ball going to Minnesota. Now you've got Bridges moving, out of Charlotte as well. There's a lot there's just a ton of moving pieces in this NBA offseason. Let's even talk about Kevin Durant potentially being moved. The Knicks, no, we don't want you, thank you. Stay where you are. But there's also the news today about Kawhi Leonard, not pictured here, potentially going back to Toronto to play for the Raptors, that the Clippers could move him. I mean, that is the writing on the wall that Steve Ballmer's ready to just tear this thing down to the studs in Los Angeles with the Clippers, because if you make that move, that's basically intention that you are signaling. But could you imagine a 2026-2027 NBA season in the Western Conference with the Thunder? We know what they are. The Spurs, we know what they are. The Nuggets, we know how good that team's going to be. And then throw the Lakers into that. Throw the Warriors into that equation. I mean, the Lakers will be a fascinating watch too. Reeves and Luka Doncic will still be there. But a Warriors team with LeBron, Anthony Davis, Stephen Curry. Wow. It would be fascinating to watch. And if they figure out a way to make it work with Butler, you'd have all four of them there. Aging, yes. But it would still be a fascinating watch for 82 games next season. Last but not least, out of the NBA, Malik Beasley. Pleading guilty today. Federal indictment. We know about all the gambling stuff that's obviously taken place with him, his involvement with it. I'd like to think that this would be the big shining example that the NBA could use to try and deter players from getting involved in this activity. But the problem is this. We can go back the last several years in the NFL, now in the NBA, college basketball, even the NFL, the Brendan Sorsby case. But the fact remains this. You're going to continue to see these problems. And it's not because of lax rules or the inability to monitor this stuff. There's something that, a dirty little thing that nobody wants to talk about when it comes to this story of Malik Beasley and all the other guys that have gotten caught up in this web of gambling illegally when they know what the potential consequences and ramifications of it are. And here's that dirty little secret. It's called a gambling addiction. And if you're addicted to gambling, nothing's going to stop you except professional help. And even in that instance, a lot of guys are going to come up short of their own expectations of being able to stop themselves from gambling. The rush of it, the dopamine hit of gambling. And I know I speak from experience as somebody that's struggled with gambling addiction for over 20 years. It's something you are always fighting. It's always something you're trying to suppress. And in the case of Malik Beasley, his NBA career is over. In the case of a lot of these guys, Terry Rozier, careers are over. But it's not going to end with these guys. There's going to be more of these stories that we see in years to come. Sad but true. And that's the big story. We're talking about Caitlin Clark, the WNBA, next. This Monday edition of Sports Wrap continues with some WNBA talk. I wish this whole conversation could just be about what's going on the court in terms of good things for the WNBA, because there was a couple of really cool stories in the last few days around the league, and maybe we'll find a minute or two to squeeze those in with Robin Lundberg, who does a great job on women's basketball over at SI. You can hear him on Sirius XM. He was on Busted Open Radio or whatever, the fighting radio, the wrestling radio channel they have over there this weekend, talking about the WWE Night of Champions. Was that Night of Champions? Was that this one? Yeah. Night of Champions, Mad Dog Radio. He's a grinder. So I want to talk to you about Caitlin Clark because this is getting so much conversation right now. And I have to say, this was as upset as I have seen you in a video that I saw online, you talking about this play with Caitlin Clark that's on our screen right now with, her and Alyssa Thomas and all this. So now that we've had a few days to sort of digest it and let it soak in, have your feelings changed about the play at all, or do you still feel the same way about that play? And in terms of her being, the word targeted is the word I hear used a lot around the league in terms of the way she's being treated by other players, the way the officials are calling the games. Go.
Yeah, I think it's worse than initially thought because of the reaction and the way people are trying to spin it and almost even paint Alyssa Thomas as the victim in this situation for a one-game suspension, mind you. You've covered sports a long time. It's not crazy for a player to get a one-game suspension. It's not like she was exiled from the league or kicked out of the league or anything like that. So there's a few things here, Jason. There's Caitlin Clark and the history with her. and there's Alyssa Thomas's history. So let's start with the first one. Caitlin Clark and the history with her. I'm not going to let people gaslight me into not seeing what I've seen over the last several years, where there are more than a handful of plays that are not basketball related that Caitlin Clark is on the receiving end of since she came into the league, whether it be Kennedy Carter or Diamond DeShields or Marina Mabry or this play with Alyssa Thomas. Then there's also, the reckless closeouts that happen to her twice a game. So the call for her is, one, it's not even just like protect her, but officiate her correctly. So when a play like that happens, make the call in real time, or, handle it appropriately so that you say it's not open season on Caitlin Clark. And then the same thing, there's a bit of a double standard where she's got her arms straight up in the air on defense, getting whistled for a call, but can get racked across the arm on the other end, or, these reckless closeouts consistently happening. And it doesn't feel like those things are being officiated to the same standard. Then there is Alyssa Thomas, who has a history. So you have a history of Caitlin Clark being on the receiving end of these things. And then you have a player who has a history of doling out this sort of stuff to Clark and otherwise, whether it be Candace Parker, whether it be Angel Reese, whether it be Kiki Iriafen, whether it be Nafisa Collier. There are many instances of Alyssa Thomas being I think it's fair, I can call her a dirty player, or certainly right on the edge of being a dirty player based on her play, nothing personal about it. And then you take, so all that happens, and I understand like the Mercury rallying around a teammate or whatever, and people are like, well, we don't want Alyssa Thomas to be on the receiving end of vitriol. No one wants that. Of course, no one should say hateful stuff. No one should do anything. But Caitlin Clark has become this proxy in a culture war, in a sense, where because right-wing media starts spouting about it, because grifters start spouting about it, because people start interjecting race and sexuality and other things into it, people lose the plot and forget to focus on what happened to Caitlin Clark and the play. It's like no one cares about Caitlin Clark. Like they make Caitlin Clark into this thing, and they start arguing against that rather than what actually took place on the basketball court.
Yeah, and conservatives are using she's being used as a pawn. Let's be honest about it. She's being used as a pawn in their game, so to speak. All right, so then from the broader perspective, what does the WNBA do about this? Because they didn't do anything about it that previously. We thought the rules were going to be tighter this year in terms of the way games were officiated. What does the NBA do? Is there an impetus for anything? If this isn't the impetus for something to change, then what is?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, one, a suspension is a good step in the right direction. They went after the fact. They looked at it, and this was upgraded, and they made it, so there was a count held.
Robin, is the officiating just bad? Is it just bad officiating?
Yes, that's part of it. Again, it's a combination. I think it's bad officiating across the board, and Caitlin Clark being not, it seems like a lot more is allowed against her than other people, like especially like to slow her down, to grab her, to all that sort of stuff. So I would say, because no one's asking for preferential treatment. You don't want preferential treatment for anybody, but equal treatment for her to make sure she is officiated correctly. I mean, Stephanie White went out there the other day and said they were cheap shots on her. And reference the double standard, and then also just keeping control of the game. Because like what happened in the finger point game, the Sophie Cunningham game, what happened with Olivia Miles and Paige Beckers yesterday, those are normal things like that. Nothing was wrong with that. That's like things get a little feisty, things get a little heated. In this case, it's okay that the player gets suspended for having her fist on Caitlin Clark's throat after kneeing her in the groin and then stepping over her. That's okay. You're allowed to suspend her for that. And yes, so I just think it's improving the officiating and being consistent with the officiating and making sure the proper judgment and proper discipline is doled out so that there is the message sent that this is not okay, this isn't tolerated, and then the media conversation is its whole own thing.
I've got 60 seconds. Do you see any scenario, let's put this to bed, where she leaves the WNBA because of the way she's being treated and decides to go play in Europe?
I mean, that's just something people are making up. I can't predict the future and tell you there's No, she said she loves playing the. I think mentally, eventually this takes a toll on her, and she's dealing with an injury right now. But as of now, like that's just something people have made up and said. So I'm not going to attribute validity to it.
So no, you don't see any scenario where she would just say, "I'm taking my ball and I'm going somewhere else."
I mean, again, in absolutes,
I'm saying if this continues, if this, what we're seeing now, I'm not saying it gets worse or better. If this continues.
I mean, no, I don't think that's going to happen. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Is whether or not people think that's going to happen. Robin Lundberg does a great job. SI, the women's basketball podcast. Also, the Robin Lundberg Show on YouTube. Check that out as well. He's got a million things going on and kind enough to give us a few minutes. Thank you.
You got it.
Welcome back to the show. On this Monday, we say hello for the first time to Sam Yarnell. Hangs out with us most days here on the program. Some notes for Major League Baseball over the weekend. I'll never understand how on earth the Yankees could be swept by the Red Sox. The way these two teams were both going into this series, it is mind-boggling, Sam. But here we are. Yanks get swept. It's funny. I said it last week to David Ardsma that they were sort of, getting by with sort of smoke and mirrors without Aaron Judge in the lineup, no Max Fried, no Giancarlo Stanton, and it just felt like everything came crashing down around them this weekend. The bigger question, and I think long-term the Yankees are going to be fine. Are they a playoff team? Yes. Are they a World Series team? Who knows? But the bigger question is this the series that turns the Red Sox around after what has been an abysmal season? Could this 4-game sweep of the Yankees be the catalyst that gets them going after we just watched them lose terribly in Colorado, Sam?
I don't think so. Jason, this was a tough series from the Yankees. This was the series where, for the first, since Aaron Judge has gone down with this crazy injury that still no one seems to know about, just for the record, he's just out indefinitely still. Up until this weekend, with regard to the Yankees offense, since Aaron Judge had gone down, it had somehow been all sunshine and rainbows. Ben Rice was playing like a potential MVP candidate. You had guys hitting out of their socks, right? And then this series came around, and it's not like you were facing a good pitching staff. The Red Sox pitching staff has infamously, I should say, been lackluster this entire season, and you put up, 3 runs, 1 run, 4 runs. That's less than 10 runs in the entire 4-game series. That's just something that can't happen. Do I think that Boston's going to turn a corner? Not a chance. They're an absolute wreck. They're an absolute wreck. Garrett Crochet is still not even throwing yet. The team is an absolute disaster. What I will say, this was a very good series for Boston. Trade-wise, Wilyer Abreu looked really good at times in this series. There is going to be a contender that gives them a decent ransom for some major players they have. William Contreras is going to fetch a fair haul at this deadline. If they could turn some of those arms back around over the course of this next, month and a few days, I think that they could really maximize on this trade deadline. That's what it felt like it was the start of for me for the Red Sox this year.
Boston is now 36-46, just for the record here. They are 3 games out of the second wild card spot, Sam. They're not selling anything. They're not selling anything if they're 3 games out of the third wild card spot. That's not happening. They're not that franchise, that fan base will not allow. And I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. I'm not saying you're wrong in your assessment. I'm just telling you they're not going to be sellers when they're 3 games out at the trade deadline. And I get it. A lot of people will say you got to look at the number of teams you got to leapfrog. Can you get by Baltimore? Can you get by Toronto? Minnesota? Yes. The A's? Meh. Houston, Seattle, Cleveland, Yankees right now, your 3 wild card teams. They're not selling. They're not selling.
Yeah, it's not even that. They're the fourth. It's not that they're X amount of games back, and they're 4.5 games back of the wild card. Just
but
for the
three
record.
in the loss column. 3 in the loss column.
Yeah, but it's 4.5 because whatever. They're the fourth worst team in the worst league in Major League Baseball. They're the fourth worst team. That's if they have any, and they showed you this when they fired Alex Cora, right? And they've showed you this throughout with the very, like I mentioned, Garrett Crochet not throwing yet. If they weren't going to sell, Garrett Crochet would be at least on a timeline to return. He's not. They're going to sell anything they can. I'm not saying that'll be a lot, but they're going to trade away pieces near the deadline.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You're not 10 games under 500 going into July and not selling at the deadline. There have been maybe a handful of teams in baseball history since the trade deadline was implemented.
What date's the deadline? What date's the deadline? What
August
is the day?
2nd, August 3rd. It is a month away. We are 1 month away from the trade deadline.
So, I mean, a lot could obviously happen in that month. They go, 18-8 over the next 26.
They'd have to go 20-10. Yeah, they'd have to go 20-10 over their next 30 games to not trade.
And the question is, was this the catalyst for that? We will obviously have to wait and see. Kyle Schwarber hit his 30th home run. I didn't talk about this with you. I talked about it somewhere in the show in the last week when he had that crazy game against the Mets where he had a couple of home runs. I think it was the same day that Bryce Harper hit for the cycle. He's going to get, we talk about 500 home run guys, by the way. He's going to get to 500 home runs, barring something unforeseen. I think he's in the 330s or around 340 now, and he's got 30 this year. For all the guys, great players we talk about in the game, boy, has Kyle Schwarber continued to deliver.
Yeah, former Nationals. They really do run this league. He is having a great season. 370. That's an interesting one. 500 homers. 370. Got to hit another 130.
Is he at 370?
He's already 33 years old. He's already 33 years old. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. See, this is the thing with the modern extreme power hitters, aside from Shohei Ohtani, the unicorn. The modern extreme power hitters don't develop that extreme power element of their game until seemingly very late in their careers, at least the ones that we're looking at right now, the Kyle Schwarbers, the Aaron Judges. That's what's going to make, even the Bryce Harpers, even though he surpassed 100 home runs very, very early on in his career and then dealt with injuries. Regardless, the point is, it's going to make things very interesting for a lot of these guys, how the age works out with everything.
2 more seasons.
Especially if we enter a new CBA where contracts are limited.
2 more seasons, basically, because he's going to get close to 400 this year. You're talking about he's going to be.
You think he's going to hit 60 home runs this year?
He's got 80. He's played 80 games. He's got 30 home runs, Sam. He's on a 60 home run pace. It's not that far-fetched. I mean, it's not a crazy thing. Even if you want to say 55, he's 105 short. He's going to need 2 to 2.5 seasons. He's getting to 500. I mean, it's crazy because, this is a guy they basically chased out of Chicago with the Cubs, and now here he is. And you know what? Kudos to the Phillies. Again, they turned it around, after firing their manager early in the year and bringing in Don Mattingly and obviously what he's been able to do for that team. Kudos to the Phillies. They are very much in the thick of things out there in the National League. And that was my argument for the Mets, who fired Carlos Mendoza, was, hey, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle somewhere, you get on a run. It's obviously not happening for the Mets, who are having an abysmal season. All right, Sam's back. We got more to do with him in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Wimbledon getting started. The All England Tennis and Lawn Club. You know what time I got to get up to watch Serena Williams on Tuesday morning, Sam Yarnell? 3 a.m. 3 a.m. I got to be up to watch Serena. It's just cruel. It's cruel sometimes living on the West Coast. Serena will face Maya Joint in her first match. And I hate to say it, she's taken this thing by storm. This is what everybody's talking about. And not even Serena knows what to expect when it comes to how far she can go and what her game is going to be. And I'm not going to lie, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that here. But with her sitting there asking the question, I debated even taking the wild card. I don't know what to expect. It makes you wonder, should she have even taken the wild card if she doesn't even know where the hell her game is? Because you're taking that wild card from somebody else. And before you say, a wild card's not going to win the tournament anyway, you just had basically a qualifier go to the French Open final, a month or so ago at Roland Garros. So crazy things do happen. And look, crazy things could happen with Serena, Sam. Maybe she goes out there and, wins a couple of matches and we get to Iga Swiatek in the third round and we've got something to talk about. But it's a tall order to ask a 44-year-old who hasn't played a singles in any singles competition of any kind in almost 4 years to go out there and win a slam at the age of 44, Sam, win 7 matches.
I got good news for you.
Uh-oh.
The match is at 9:30 a.m. your time.
Oh,
you don't have to wake up at 3 a.m. The matches start at 3 a.m. your time, but the Serena Williams match is at 9:30 your time on Tuesday.
You just made my day. Thank you.
There is there's a lot of stuff that we'll get into about Serena Williams, obviously, because let's be honest, the majority of the headlines within tennis about Serena have not been about the actual tennis over the weekend. But there's a reason that Maya Joint is a minus 156 money line favorite. I didn't honestly, because I choose not to be plugged into the whole Serena Williams arc for a bunch of reasons that we'll get into in a second. I didn't realize that she was taking someone else's spot. That's horrible. To not only take someone else's spot, but to then also be an underdog and then also do what she did over the weekend, which is complain about the new system. This was one of the crazier things that I think I've ever seen out of a professional athlete. Serena Williams, in case you missed it, had a quote regarding the new system that I guess has been updated since the last time she played about anti-doping and how tennis players, the top 100 singles, all are required to provide the anti-doping enforcement agency with a 1 hour window that they can be tested in. And if they miss their window, it obviously counts as a missed test because you missed the test. And Serena Williams obviously had some sort of problem with that and made some egregious comment about, well, I guess I can't pick up my kids now because I need to give the World Anti-Doping Agency a 1 hour window of my day where I can just be available for them. This is one of the craziest things I have ever heard in my entire life. I get the inconvenience, whatever. Serena Williams, first of all, there is a very, 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 very thin tightrope that you have to walk, being the not only face of, but cover person in every single advertisement for a major, major private pharmaceutical company that runs ads on just about every major tennis tournament that I've seen over the course of the last year. You also are in tennis, one of, right now, the hottest doping bed sports in the entire world. On top of all of that, you are one of, if not, I would assume, the highest earning female tennis player of all time. You can't find, there's not some Nike rep that works for you that can pick up your kids while you're giving an hour of your time to the World Anti-Doping Agency to help keep tennis clean. Like, what are we doing here, Serena Williams?
I saw the comments. Of all the things in the sports world to get upset about, I don't know if I was as upset about it as you are. Clearly.
I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed that someone who's been the face of a sport for as long as she has would do something so careless. That's what I'm disappointed in. Not upset.
I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. She has literally managed to talk her way down in the odds, by the way. I think she was like 40-1 or 33-1 before, maybe a week ago. Now she's 65-1 to win the entire thing. She's plus 350 to make it to be eliminated in the second round. She's plus 600 to be eliminated in the third round. And frankly, I think that's where she gets beat. I like her to beat Maya Joint. I think she beats Maya Joint. That's my prediction. I think she actually wins that match. What price can I get her at in there?
Plus 130, something like that.
Oh,
yeah, plus
that.
130.
But
as you would say, just give me your money. I'll kick you in the cojones.
You think she's going to lose? You think she's going to lose?
My goodness. Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes.
I don't think so, Sam.
I think that she's going to be too worried about what time the World Anti-Doping Agency is going to show up and whether or not her kids made it to extended day today or not at whatever freaking private school that 1/10 of
plus
the 1% can get into.
Plus 130, minus 156. I'll take Serena. You take Maya Joint, and we'll meet at the window. And somebody will be a winner and somebody will be a loser guaranteed because it isn't soccer and there are no draws. Odds and ends coming up a little later on in the show. We're talking NASCAR and a win for SVG next. Welcome back to the show. Fridays and Mondays on Sports Wrap, we preview and recap the NASCAR race. Sonoma, the site of this weekend's race. I didn't even know Brian Twining was going to be there because he didn't tell me his schedule anymore. He didn't even tell me what's going on. Unless I call, he's that guy. Unless I call him or text him, he doesn't get in touch with me. I feel
that
very
is so
unloved.
not true.
I feel so unloved. I feel so unloved.
Yeah, well, for future, we can just assume any of the West Coast races, I will more than likely be at in a working capacity.
And now everybody knows across the country and Canada. Brian Twining, Bleacher Nation, hanging out with us on this Monday edition of the show. Shane Van Gisbergen, your winner at Sonoma. It had some drama, though. And so here's where I want to begin. Final laps, you got Chase Briscoe trying to chase him down. If that thing has another 5 laps to it, does Chase Briscoe win?
It wouldn't have even needed 5 laps.
2,
Shane
3?
admitted in his post-race press conference that had it been another lap, maybe 2, he would have had to have began blocking, which would in turn kind of open the door for Chase to move Shane out of the way to get to the victory because admittedly the 19 was the better car.
Yeah, because as they started to go through, I was waiting for Chase to bump him in that final stretch in that last lap where it felt like in the braking zones he was pushing him, and it felt like I was waiting for the moment where he was going to try to make a move, and Chase Briscoe just didn't do it.
It kind of sounded like Shane didn't expect that to happen, and to Briscoe's credit, like, that's not something that we've seen him do in the past, and they've raced each other hard previously. I mean, you go back to this race last year where Briscoe was just kind of trailing Shane for the majority of the day, not necessarily being able to get there. I mean, this year too, for the most part, Shane had a large lead on the field, and so I don't know. I didn't expect Chase to give him the chrome horn or anything, but yeah, it was really interesting to see Shane win the way he did with the car that he had. And being that he was a grumpy old man the entire weekend, according to crew chief Stephen Doran.
A little bit of something for everybody in this race, though. Let's be honest about it. You know, Ty Gibbs picked up a stage win, 54 points. And we live in this different world now where for at least the years that I've been covering and really getting in NASCAR, it was winning races was such the thing, and there was so much import on winning races. And now that's simply not the case. Stage points, lap sled, all of that stuff plays into it. A lot of people gained a lot out of this race.
Yeah, and for Ty Gibbs, some people might say he should have gotten off the strategy and not taken the stage points there. But I mean, he came away with the second most points on the day.
Might as well have won the race.
Yeah, like he won both stages 1 and 2. And we've seen this in the past. You cannot do the same thing that Shane is doing. Otherwise, you're just going to be running behind him for the entire race. And so credit to the 54 team. They did everything they could to maximize their points day while also potentially being there for a race win. Because if we get a caution with a couple laps to go, he has the fresher tires. He was maybe the fastest car on the long run. And so, yeah, Gibbs made the right call.
But this was a must-win for Van Gisbergen coming off what happened last week, right?
100%. They both him and his crew chief Doran admitted like last week's result was crushing to them. Because they knew coming into these two races they needed to have massive points days to put them into a decent position to contend for a chase position. And as we sit now, he's only 36 points, I believe, above the cut line, which with the ovals that we have coming up. I mean, this weekend we have Chicagoland, a place that we haven't been to in 7 years, and he's obviously never been at. So he's already in a world of hurt.
What's going on with Tyler Reddick?
Oh, man, you talk about just falling in quicksand. That 45 team cannot get out of their own way. I mean, this week a power steering issue pops up. He loses 6 laps, and then he's out there running. He was running good laps, but I mean, he could never get the laps back. He did get the fastest lap of the race, which allowed him to mitigate the points loss. He's only 1 point behind Denny Hamlin, who himself ran into some issues. So it kind of sucks to be them now. I would be pretty distraught having that big of a lead, only to lose it in a matter of weeks. But as we go back to the ovals, I think the 45 will start contending again, and we'll see a very tight battle for the regular season points championship.
Kyle Larson can't win a race, but still continues to amass points.
Yeah, Larson, he's one of the hotter drivers in the sport right now. I know we're going to look at it and be like, oh, I can't win, can't do this. But he's essentially turned into Chase Elliott of the previous couple of seasons, where he's just routinely running inside the top 5 and having great days, having good points days. And so I think a win is coming for them. And as they kind of said in the closing comments of the broadcast, once the 5 team does get their first win, watch out, because that's going to give them the confidence to go forth and maybe win a few more races as the season comes to an end.
In the final minute here, as far as Chicagoland is concerned, what are you looking forward to in that race? Again, given the fact they haven't been there in half a dozen years.
I'm not going to lie. Like, I personally have almost zero experience of watching events there. But from what I heard this weekend, asking drivers about their preparation, like the track is going to be wide. We're going to have multiple grooves. The surface has aged over the years, maybe not as tire wearing as they're expecting, like not to the levels of Darlington, but it is going to be a fun race. Guys are very excited. I think you're going to see drivers who do have past experience there be better than ones that are going there for the first time or have very limited experience.
Yeah, I don't know who the favorite. I haven't looked yet.
It's going to be Denny Hamlin, 100%.
Denny Hamlin will be the favorite to win there, according to our friend, the great Ryan Twining. Hamlin is plus 175. Tyler Reddick plus 380. Kyle Larson plus 650. Ryan Blaney plus 650. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Always appreciate it, Brian. Thank you. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Tomorrow on the show, plenty to talk about. Who knows? In the NBA these days, 24 hours is like an eternity with all the different player movement that we're seeing. Baseball conversation, a whole bunch more. Interesting story out of college football I want to get to tomorrow as well. That on the program. Before we get to odds and ends, a few reminders. If you have not done so yet, check out the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, our Monday through Friday audio version of this show available. 45 minutes, limited commercial interruptions. It's fantastic. We encourage you, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere you get a podcast. Did I say Spotify? I think I said Spotify. Go and check out those podcasting platforms and subscribe today. We've also got the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show is available on our YouTube channel. Commercial free, no commercials at all. The TV version of the show Monday through Friday on YouTube. Also, extended conversations you're able to find those there. We've also got Sports Wrap Originals, Sports Wrap Shorts, News Breaks. Boom, we're on Sports Wrap Shorts on YouTube. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our TikTok. Sports Wrap Jason Page is the name to look for there. The same name on Instagram. We're on the gram. We're on Insta. Sports Wrap Jason Page if you want to go and check that out. And not to be left out, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page website is fully up and running. Sportswrap.tv, right there. Sportswrap.tv. Go and check out our website. It's got everything there. The TV version of the show, the podcast, the daily Substack newsletter. You could subscribe there. You could find your affiliate. If you're traveling or you want to know the best place to find Sports Wrap in your market, just type in your city and state. Boom, you'll find it right there on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page website, sportswrap.tv. And now, without any further delay, because I think we've delayed enough on this Monday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Boy, what if it never ceases to amaze me. The finishes we get every year at the Travelers Championship. It's just, it doesn't get any better than this, folks. Did you see this? Scotty Scheffler and Victor Hovland in a playoff on Monday morning because 72 holes wasn't enough. They ran out of daylight yesterday, and it was Victor Hovland picking up the win over the great Scotty Scheffler. Scheffler only has one win this year. He's got a ton of top 5s, top 10s, top 25s. He's making tons of coin. But the one thing he can't do right now is win a tournament for whatever reason. And it just goes to show you how difficult it is to win out on the PGA Tour. But the Travelers Championship, I can speak from experience. I spent a ton of years there covering the tournament, hosting shows from the tournament back in my ESPN Radio Hartford days. Nathan Grube and the folks there do a second-to-none job on putting this tournament together every year. It always follows the toughest championships to follow, the U.S. Open, and they always get the best players and player commitments. Victor Hovland, I think it's the 9th win of his career, this victory for Victor Hovland. And he's able to chase down Scotty Scheffler yesterday after having the lead, then losing the lead, able to chase him down. They go to the extra hole, and Scheffler misses short putt. Look, take one last look at it. And that's inside 5 feet. Got to make it. And he didn't. So Scotty Scheffler will keep looking for that elusive next win. Open Championship, he will certainly be a favorite there as well. Congratulations to Victor Hovland. Terrible news to report in odds and ends today. If you have not seen this, Michael Strahan had an interview with former NFL running back Chris Johnson, who's just 39 years old. This is a guy that rushed for 2,000 yards. This was and I'm talking about in a single season, guy who had a fantastic career, revealing today at the age of 39 years old that he's suffering from ALS. And this is something that progressed quickly with him over the last year, because a year or two ago he was, seemingly fine, and the signs started to show. And before you know it, in this interview today, he could not speak. They were using one of those things where it's able to mimic his voice and stuff like that. And he was there with his wife. Heartbreaking to see this story about Chris Johnson being diagnosed with ALS. And it's going to bring to the forefront, rightly or wrongly, it's going to start this conversation again about the dangers of playing in the NFL and head trauma, because there are studies out there that suggest a higher risk of diseases like ALS from the brain trauma associated with too many hits, too many concussions, undiagnosed concussions, and the like that NFL players have been subjected to. So there's no getting around it. It's something we're going to hear a lot more about, certainly in the days ahead. And that's going to do it for us on this Monday edition of the show. Thank you to our guests, Brian Twining, for hanging out with us on the show. Thank you to Robin Lundberg. Thanks to Sam Yarnell. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. I'm Jason Page. That does it for Sports Wrap. We'll see you back here on Tuesday for an all-new edition. Until then, bye-bye.